Okay.
Hi, we're the Game Brass.
We're the Game Brass.
We are, in
Hello.
fact, the Game Brass.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I hope you can hear everyone and see everyone. I see that I'm overexposed. Whatever. Hello, how are you? We are so excited to be here tonight, and we're going to sort of relive our Brassino experience and play all the videos for you again in the background while we kind of director's commentary. But mostly we are here to premiere for you a brand new video that will happen at the end of tonight's stream. Anyway, my name is Robby Dugay. I play the trumpet. I am based in Toronto, Canada.
I am John Robert Metz. I also play the trumpet. I am based here in Chicagoland, Illinois.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Danny. I play Danny Flam. I loader on French horn, and I'm out of Long Island, New York.
Long Island.
Long Island, yeah.
Hi, I'm John Stacy. I play French horn, and I am centered out of Midland, Texas.
Hello, I'm Daniel Rumberger, and I play the trombone. Also, I'm based in Toronto now, but I'm originally from Pennsylvania.
Hello. I'm Alex Hill, and I'm currently based in Virginia. I play the tuba. I doot.
And I'm Thomas Kresge, the ranger for a lot of this, and at least all of Brassino. And I'm in Los Angeles.
All right.
Fantastic.
Thank you for coming to our Q&A. Congratulations.
You made it this far.
Secrets to the universe now.
Thank you all for putting up with our fun technical problems. Always, it's not a live stream if there isn't at least a little bit of exciting weirdness that goes down. So we appreciate your patience and consideration in these trying internet times. So I'm going to turn things back over to Robby here now, and he has hydrated slightly, and we'll run the ball.
Yes. So the way we figured we would structure this tonight, I will give a disclaimer first. The setup tonight is a little bit complicated. I'm using a little gimbal here to show you. I've got a monitor where I'm watching the videos coming from my laptop, which is going into my PC. So there's a couple of handoffs happening here that I'm trying to stay on top of. So if you can't hear one of us, or if you can't hear the video, because we're going to run the videos, you just shout it out in the chat and we'll try and keep up with it. And with that, I'm going to click the first video and we will just sort of start chatting. Please work. Nope. Ruined it. There we go. Okay. So now in theory, you should hear this music and you should hear my voice and we're all good. Cool. So tonight we are here to answer your questions. Daniel, you have the list. Would you read off the first one, please?
Sure. So we have some questions that were submitted ahead of time, but for all of you hanging out in the chat, feel free to send us while the songs are playing, and then we'll make sure that we get to those as well. So let's start off with something that Eric MG asks, and this will go out to Alex mostly. What tuba should I buy if I'm a casual tuba player? Student model would likely suffice.
Oh, wow. A student model going out with tuba. I mean, your best bet is if you're a casual tuba player wanting to play, in your local bands or play in make a little brass quintet or something like that. B flat or a C tuba is a good place to start. I recommend taking a look at ones that are 4 or 5 valves, depending on what your budget is. I recommend Miraphone, Yamaha. There's a couple other brands too, but I can really dive into this more as well if you want to private message me, just DM me on Twitter or something. But there's a lot of good brands and a good way to find them used. There are a lot of good websites. So I personally I have a C tuba, a 5-valve C tuba from Miraphone, and it's a 5/4 size. So it's sort of like the large size of the tubas. And it does just about anything you want in that kind of setting. So as a casual, I say take a look at B-flat tubas, C tubas. You're probably looking around anywhere between 3,000 and 6,000 used price range, maybe. But depending on your budget, there can be other options.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to be like a casual tuba player. We were joking in our conversation earlier today. It's like being a casual vibraphone player. You don't just drop 12 Gs on a bunch of metal and then casually play it.
Right.
John Stacey,
yeah,
casual car driver.
So this is kind of a question for Alex. We were talking about this earlier. The school that I worked at a few years ago actually bought several tuba exchange 3/4 size B flats, and I thought they played like dynamite, and they're about $2,000 a piece. Do you have any experience with those?
Yeah, those are great. The tube exchange stuff is really good. They started off, so basically they took a look at some models that have already been in existence and kind of made edits to it to make something affordable. And the way they made it, they still did with very good materials. So even though they cut some costs, the overall product was good. I've tried one of them and they're really great. So that's definitely someone I recommend. Tubas can really vary in price, and it really just depends on the maker, the materials that are made, and how many valves, basically.
Yeah, you can also be lucky. I mean, I got a tuba for $150, which is an amazing tuba. So sometimes you can also just be, So somebody who's a tuba fixer decided he wants to close his shop and he can't carry tubas anymore. And then he was like, "Here, take this tuba." I was like, "Okay."
I'm sorry, I need to jump to a relevant question from the chat. Laura Entravia asks, "Am I big enough to play the tuba?"
Laura, you are just... Your heart is big enough to play the tuba. Your lungs are big enough to play the tuba. You can play the tuba.
You can absolutely do it.
100%.
Honestly,
I've heard you sing. Your lungs are definitely big enough.
We believe you. We believe in you, and we believe you at the same time.
But going to tuba from playing flute, flute is an instrument that requires a lot of air and a lot of precise control over air. So being able to transition from flute to tuba is actually something that's not particularly unheard of.
Yeah,
the tuba player for the tuba player for the Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra years ago, Danny Yohas, was 5'1", so you can definitely play tuba.
I feel like the only thing I can possibly say is I do remember that there was something to be said for flautist embouchures and brass embouchures almost being at odds with each other. all I know is when I was in school doing music education stuff and doing brass tech and woodwind tech, all the brass players had a hard time with flute, and all the flautists had a hard time with brass stuff. So you might have to be a bit clever and really work at it to be able to switch back and forth. I know I'm terrible with transverse flutes, just dreadful with them. So maybe it holds true. Maybe it's just me, my lack of talent. What can I say?
You say this while surrounded by wind instruments.
Yes, I'm bad with them. That's
Y'all,
Yeah.
y'all, we should move on.
Yeah,
'Cause
sorry,
Between
we're
all of
getting-
us, how many instruments does everybody own? Like in this right now?
that was actually
the question.
a question.
Oh yeah.
How many
Oh,
instruments
yeah.
do you play? Also, does Mr. Kresge play the sax? This was
Yes.
from Film Musical. All right,
Such a
Tom
short
plays
answer. All right.
and plays the sax.
Do we
how
want to
many-
answer the instrument question now, or do we want to save that for later in the list?
Oh, let's do it. Let's do it now. That's fine.
Okay,
Yeah,
cool.
we posed it, right?
John, start us off.
Sure. All of them. Every single one. No, I'm kidding. I play a lot of like bass instruments, so your flugelhorns and your piccolos, piccolo trumpets, and horn and mellophones and whatnot. But like outside of that realm, there's like I'm okay at things like Irish whistles and like weird ethnic flutes that I've made out of duct tape and nonsense and recorders and more. I'm just reaching around grabbing stuff. I can't play ukulele to save my life, but I can play just enough to incriminate myself. Things like that. But actually that brings me to the thing I can't do. I can't play guitar at all. It's terrible. It's a foreign instrument. String instruments are where I kind of fall down. But a lot of woodwinds, clarinet, bass clarinet, some double reed stuff. But again, not my forte. Mostly brass, mostly like fipple flute type woodwinds, and a few reeds. That's kind of my thing. And I sing, but that's like not an instrument that's external, that's internal. Robbie?
All right, cool. So I actually am like a hobbyist trumpet player. Trumpet was not my first instrument. I started on guitar when I was very, very little. Guitar is my main instrument for sure. Because I can do that, I can play some classical guitar, some electric, some acoustic, bass. I can pretend to play the banjo if I need to for like a score I'm working on. I don't own one. But yeah, I have a whole bunch of guitars, a couple of B-flat trumpets, a C trumpet, a flugelhorn. I have a mellophonium, a French horn, like a double, and a euphonium, which Daniel now has, actually.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the embouchure for it. And I have like 3 trombones right now, one of them valve.
All right. Are we gonna keep going in score order?
Yeah.
Dan, you want to answer next? Danny, you're muted.
I mean, it's probably for the best that you're muted.
It's also
but-
getting out the plumbing over there.
So this is my main instrument. It's the chimbastang. This is what I play mostly for.
The chimbasso.
No, the chimbastang. It's not a real chimbasso. It's a monstrosity of plumbing and
Sounds amazing.
The chimbosity.
That's a beautiful sound, and everybody hires me for that thing. But I also play trombone as my other main instrument is trombone, and then I play every other brass instrument, sort of like what John does. And I record on and I have like every single like blowy thing in this house. Like I even just purchased, because of John Stacy, I just purchased an alto bugle. I think it's called a soprano bugle. So okay, that's those are my instruments.
So my main instrument is French horn. I play double, and I also play descant horn occasionally that's an impulse purchase because of John Robert Matz. But I also do all the brass, trumpet, cornet. I do all 4 sizes of trombone, alto, tenor, bass, and I've done contrabass before. I can do tuba, although I don't know one. I do euphonium. Woodwinds, I do flute, clarinet, alto clarinet, all sizes of saxophone. I do those, but they'll suck my soul out through my nose. So, and then Percussion, I've done some percussion stuff, and then piano, bass, guitar. I can do ukulele. I'm kind of okay at mandolin, and then rudimentary strings. But it's just whenever you're a band director, you kind of have to do all these things well, because whenever you're teaching in the middle of nowhere and you're the only music guy in the town, it's like, okay, you've never heard what a trumpet sounds like. All right, well, I guess I got to sound good on trumpet now. And then, all right, well, you've never heard bassoon before. All right, well, I got to sound good on bassoon now. So those are all the things. And I also sing, but don't tell
for 100
anybody.
miles.
Yeah, for me, if you check out my channel, Danny Music, you've pretty much already seen literally everything that I can play, which is trombone, alto trombone, Robby's euphonium, and then the weird instruments that I play, theremin, which actually I can play pretty proficiently, whistling, which I can actually also do pretty proficiently. I used to be a vocal major back in the day, and then kind of got away from that a little bit. And then auxiliary percussion, I think if I had like high school and everything to do all over again, I would be a percussionist, because every time I just love playing random percussion instruments, and I have a pretty large collection myself. Also a recorder and ocarina, but those are things.
Right.
Alex.
Yeah, for me, in terms of like what I can play on a very base level, like a very like surface level, like all of the orchestra instruments. My first degree was in music education before I went on to get a master's performance. So we had to learn like all the instruments. So on a very, very base level, I can play them all. Doesn't mean I practice any of them anymore. But in terms of what I do play currently and still enjoy, of course, tuba is my main. I have a C tuba and F tuba. I can play euphonium, but I don't have one quite yet. And then other than that, I dabble around with melodica, piano. I still have my bass guitar. And I guess that's all I have here right now. If I were to pick an instrument, a secondary instrument that I would like one day like to play around with, I would love to play around saxophone one day. Because I enjoyed it back when I learned it for my degree and had fun with it, but it would be cool.
I'll mail you one just so you can get it off my
No. I'm good. Like it's just like one of those like maybe one day, but you know, it's cool.
That's a
Why
good.
not a
That's a good segue
sarrusophone?
to Thomas, actually.
Dark path. Yeah, secretly I don't
The
know
saxophone.
how to play brass instruments. And here I am. I started out on saxophone. Saxophone and piano.
Made of
Those
brass.
are the ones I play proficiently. I can play flute decently, and then I can play trumpet at about an 8th grade level.
So I have a question. Like everybody, like whenever I say brass, whenever people say brass, they mean section with a saxophone here in New York. But everybody else in America seems to say when you say brass does not include saxophones. And I tend to say saxophone is part of the brass section in many. So what do you guys think?
I think it really depends on the band, right? Like because like if you're talking about a band, i.e. like a jazz band or a funk band or something like that, you talk about like the horn section or the brass section, and it's going to include your saxophones. Like it's saxophones, horn, saxophones, trumpets, trombones,
So Thomas had
and
to be
that's
part
what
of
you
us.
expect.
There you go.
But if
right.
But if you're talking about a classical ensemble, usually you don't include saxophones in that if you're talking about brass, because saxophones are woodwinds. Technically, because there's a tiny bit of wood incorporated in the design. Who knew? But I think that saxophone is definitely, because it's an honorary brass instrument. Because it's made of brass, we'll allow it just once.
It was designed to supplement the brass section originally, make the low brass section of the military bands fuller. So, I mean, it was designed as a brass instrument. So, good old Adolf sax way back when.
Good true.
Okay.
Gotta love them.
All right. We should really move along with some of these.
Yeah.
Yes. We'll talk about this all day.
Yeah.
Right. So we are still taking questions from the chat. I'm going to take a second to pause my video playlist before it gets too out of control, because we haven't said anything about the last 3 videos, and I think it would be worth saying a thing or two about the last 3 videos.
Sure.
So we had Delfino Island, which had somebody shout out who were our guests on that. There was
Oh boy. So many people.
Our guests on that were Max and Brooke on trumpet, and Mark and Jackie on horn, and Jordan
Kirk
and
Laddish
Abby
on trombone.
on euphonium, and then Eric and Jacob McNatt and Troy on trombone, and then Caitlin joined on tuba. So it's 16 people.
Yeah,
A much more substantial brass ensemble.
Mhm.
I will say this now on record. I love the idea of having an album that's like New Game Brass Plus, that is like our 16-person arrangements of tracks, like the Chrono Trigger from the beginning of the stream, or this, or we've got a couple other expanded arrangements. I'd love to eventually do that kind of thing. That'd be a lot of fun.
Did you see
but
chat?
just
Chat.
maximum
Somebody
brass.
says we don't have guests, we have integrations.
And
Yeah.
Bruno, that also kind of goes into your question. I know you were making a joke out of it, but that kind of goes into the question of why there are 7 people here for a brass quintet.
For sure.
The Game Brass started out as a brass quintet, and then as we've moved along and started collaborating with more and more musicians, people like John Stacy and Thomas have gradually done more throughout the group to the effect that they're essentially core members as well. And it's also nice that we mix up and have these opportunities to play with a larger number of brass musicians. There's like a big extended Game Brass family that we can all call upon and relate to. Yeah. Robby, did you have anything else to say about Delfino?
I just remember being really tired working on that video.
Wait, just that video? Just that video?
For those of you
Yes.
following along at
Ro-
home, we switched from doing like a video a month to a video a week, which, we made some changes to make that possible, but it's still a lot. Like,
Yeah,
it's a
so
lot.
for those of you who are playing along at home, both Robby and I are professional video game composers as well. We write music for games, and that means that you just already don't get to sleep very much. He is 1 hour ahead of me, so when it's midnight here, it's 1 o'clock there, and I'll be up at 2 o'clock still working, and he'll just be up at 2 o'clock my time still working. So it's 3 o'clock, and he's just posting stuff, and I'm like commenting on it because I'm like, I need to stop listening to my own music for a minute. And I know he's got just as many other deadlines as I do. So, it's exciting, like just
It's
watching,
exciting.
yeah, it's exciting. Everyone just loves, it's a great feeling, that sense of just
Oh,
crushing exhaustion,
yeah.
but the art is happening, so you make it happen.
And
I
then,
hope you
and
have
then in
fun
the
with your
meantime,
friends while doing
Thomas is up because he's Pacific time, and then me and Alex are up because we
Completely
sleep weird.
nocturnal.
And I'm up because I never sleep. So it's
Yeah,
like I
that's-
think
that's
we have
true.
a 24-hour feed basically. What?
Yeah.
We're the late
Oh,
brass.
Yep. I'm a
With the
night
late
owl
brass,
through
that's
and
true.
through.
Ooh, yeah.
And I
That's
get up
fair.
early
Yeah, no
every
one.
morning.
The only time we're not awake is about like 9 a.m. And
Pretty
even then,
much.
that's
Yeah.
sometimes not
There's
true.
an hour between 9
Yeah.
and 10 a.m. where all of us are
No one's awake.
Well, since I started teaching, I've never been able to sleep in again. So most days I'm actually up between 7 and 8. So
Oh,
even then, yes, I get up early, because I can't not.
Oh,
Did we lose someone?
oh,
Okay.
Did my
Do
phone
we
just
wanna-
go away?
Do we want to talk about how the album got started? Both Zach Schmidt and Keotter had asked about how the project got started. Hey gang, for all the Brassino Isles collabs, what was the percentage of you reaching out to others versus others reaching out to you? And then Keotter asks, how long does this sort of project take to complete? What's the band's process like when coming up with an album concept? And what are some of the different steps that go into creating such a big album as Brassino Isles?
Say,
did we
Thomas, you want to take this?
Questions. The
Yeah.
percentage of people that we reached out to is 100%.
It's 100%, but then it's also kind of not in a way, because there were some people that we had collaborated with before, and then there were other people who really wanted to do a collaboration with us. So this
Okay, yeah,
specific
there were
collab,
a couple that brought it up before to us, and so we
Yeah.
definitely went back to them and we said, and now's the time. But yeah, mostly though, it was us reaching out to others.
right? Us reaching out to them for this specific collab, although in some cases people had reached out to us beforehand to do any collab. And then how long does this sort of project take to complete? What's the band's process like when coming up with the concept and some of the different steps that go into the album?
That's a big
They're
question.
back.
It is.
Well,
Yeah, you can hear me now, right?
Yeah.
I
for
think my
time,
phone
I-
overheated.
yeah.
I hate
For-
that. That's not good.
Fine.
For the timeline, I'd say that this one really started at the end of January. So, but this one, I think we had a longer timeline than other albums.
On purpose.
On purpose because of how many other people we were involving. So it's because Brassylvania, I think, was more like a 4-month process
Mm-hmm.
versus this one's 6.5 months. So
Yeah, but so it's important to keep in mind that it's sort of always a rolling schedule. So Thomas will talk to us about an idea, or sorry, someone in the band will say, "Why don't we do a X album?" And then we talk about it, and if we decide to go ahead with it, and Thomas wants to be the arranger for it, he will then, or we will all pool a bunch of names of songs and game ideas, and then we sort of pick what are the most notable, what are the most important to us as people, game playing people, whatever. And then Thomas starts arranging some of them, like say 4 of them, and we'll start recording those the week after. And while we're recording the next set, he's arranging another set. And then we're always constantly trying to catch up to one another. And once he's done arranging all the tracks, he starts mixing the tracks, at which point we're trying to catch up to him. And then it all sort of meets together at the end. So it's like good project management, like a good Gantt chart if we do it right. And we've done it okay.
So once you got the album part basically in the bag, more or less, as we've been doing these as big albums, then we start making the videos. And that comes like...
Yeah, the videos are all completely done after the fact.
Sorry, guys, we don't actually record everything in the video. That's a big spoiler to reveal. Sorry. Anyway, carry on.
Well, and then a kind of little thing on the process is that we all kind of work on our own little, I don't want to say our own little schedule, but our own, little pace. And so like my preference is that I record as many tracks as I can. And so like when the first 13 or 12 tracks, I think, were done, I just recorded all those 12 tracks in one session because that works better for me because then I can get it done and I don't have to worry about it. And then, well, things happened, as you know. And then those last 4 I was one of the last people to get those last 4 in. So, I lost the race. But
There was a really tight race at the end, though. Like John Robert did the same thing where he was way ahead of the game. But then one of the arrangements changed because one of our collaborators had to drop out. And so we switched. So the arrangement changed. And then like I had to re-record, John had to re-record. So we sort of all met up at the end, like in the last 3 days, like, oh, it was me. No, I was first.
No, we all know. He's rubbed it in our face enough. It was Romberger.
Yeah.
He
Attaboy, Daniel.
leapfrogged at the very last second like a jerk.
I thought it was me.
The torch is
I
still in your
was
head.
me. I still owe some videos. No.
Yeah, about 3 more, buddy.
Yes. Can I jump in here real fast?
Recorded all the things first. Go ahead.
There's a real nice, real good question from Peterson Normals here, who asks, is our music recorded on a click track or is it organically made? And actually, this is a super simple thing, but the way that we work has been kind of refined over the last couple of years since we've started working this. And yes, the answer is yes. We always work from a click track, but we kind of finally hone that click track first. Like everything is prepared in advance. We have like a bad, like it sounds crummy, but it works. It does the job. A MIDI mock-up of sampled instruments to kind of be the backdrop so that everyone can kind of fit into their pocket. We have a click track that we match and we work from so that everyone is as tight as possible. And everyone records their audio independently and then sends it to whoever's doing the mixing. And that person imports all of the stuff into one project file and then uses a program called Melodyne, which is, please, Salamoni, give me money. That would be nice. Thank you. A program called Melodyne to elegantly kind of shore up the rough edges. Because when you're not in the same room with each other, you don't get all of the kind of general kind of group mind ensemble that you get. You can't, there's so much give and take when you perform live Like everyone tunes to everyone else just automatically. The tempo pulls and pushes very naturally, and you can't do that here. So we'll clean everything up, and then we'll start mixing everything so it works. But yeah, we always start from a solid click track that sets the basis. And sometimes we decide as we're going along we're going to tweak stuff, but usually we've honed that from the beginning to give us that kind of natural flow and ebb and flow. We almost never have like a straight locked tempo the entire way through, though.
Yeah, and so that is sort of part of the arrangement process. And so whoever the arranger might be for any given track, and on Brassino it was Thomas the whole time, that person will make that click track with that mock-up. And the people who are performing, I will always try to match my performance to John Roberts. So he'll usually record before me, and I pull it in, and I try and play like him. He's way more experienced of a player anyway. So that's another sort of aspect to trying to play like an ensemble, hearing another performance and trying to match along with it. I'm realizing now that I have paused our playlist, and it was a mistake. And I'm going to hit play again. But first, I want to say shout out to Francis, Steel Drum Bands on YouTube. You can see him on the screen over there.
Hey, I think
Yeah.
Doug Perry with us? Oh, Doug Perry is here.
Yeah, shout out to Doug and Levi and everybody in the
And a
chat.
whole pack of
This
people.
Yoshi's Island video, though, a quick tip about it. There exists 2 whole videos of me and John Stacy dancing throughout the entire thing, all green screened.
Let me see if I can find a spot of it.
It is absolutely hilarious. It's wonderful.
And about 3 times more of my dancing video, my glasses actually shot off my face. And it made a loud enough sound where my wife was basically, she sent me a text and she's like, "What was that?" So my glasses slammed into the wall because I was doing this kind of a motion. And it just...
Brutal.
In the
Projectile
free stream that I have
glasses.
up right now, John in the very top in the orange, he's doing that dance right now.
Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah, good times.
Moments before disaster.
And then
Moment. The split second before disaster.
this was another fun one. This is the Dragon Roost Island video where we got to put Jules on a boat. That was a lot of fun.
Always wanted
also
to put Jules on a
had,
boat, to be
And
fair.
then
Matt
Jules immediately
Papagant
comments,
and-
"I'm on a boat."
Yeah,
It's
it's
true.
pinned. So yeah, also again, shout out to Eric and Brooke and Marc Papagin for being on this one. And now I'm going to hit play on Octopath, which is another fun. All these are my favorite videos, but this one's another favorite of mine.
I've been getting
Yeah,
a lot
Robby
of
built
a lot of accolades for that Octopath video. People love it.
Worth mentioning,
this one of the-
we did another Octopath. We did the main theme last Saturday,
Mhm.
with Purple
Oh, I was
Shallow.
talking about that one. I thought, oh, this is this one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah, which came out as part of the Materia Collective. Is it Flames Grace?
Flames Grace.
What's the Flames Grace? I cannot
Yeah.
speak. I'm sorry.
yeah, but
Yeah, no,
which is
people are
very
calling me up
lovely.
and people were texting me. It's like telling me how good it is. So that's,
It's a
I really
good
feel
arrangement.
that this whole process, because we are talking about the arranging process, has like gone miles. Like if you probably listen to one of our first things, you'll hear how good it is. It's our advance has been so good is that we're thinking of re-releasing everything. Right? Is that something we're talking about? No, not talking about. Like
are
our
you talking about
next
castles?
project. Yeah. Are we talking
Yeah,
about
I mean,
the fact
it's-
that,
we
so
were
we
supposed to
recorded
have
it, but we're
that
going
in
to
September.
remaster and remix because we have advanced so much in our in our process. Like everybody's listening, like maybe I want to record that again. No, we don't have time.
And that's the thing. That's why that album has taken 3 years to make, is that every time we make a new album that happens all at once, we go, oh, I learned how to record trumpet better. Let's go back and fix castles. So it's like, oh, I learned how to master better. Okay, well then let's fix castles. And it's just still
I
sitting.
think I'm the only person that is flawless the entire time. I've never had to do a darn
It's true.
thing.
You haven't
It's
done a
great.
part twice on that album.
It's
We'll never
wonderful.
talk to you.
I
John.
want to quickly call out this wonderful bit here. Like this track. First of all, gorgeous work by Okabanda. They play this so well. It gives me this just wonderful like Joe Hisaishi vibes. It makes me happy every
For
time.
sure.
It's lovely. But Robby built a 3D modeled concert hall, opera house that we are playing in. And then like put us all on this stage, and it's wonderful. We have no lower bodies. Please don't notice that. Don't notice that at all. But it's just such an absurd thing that he put together,
In
and
the
it looks
stage.
great. And then you got Thomas, who decided we were going to get him in on this, so he's conducting us in the front. which you see waving his hands. It's great. Just a real triumph, like of like weird concept. I don't think this has like any gameplay video from the game in it whatsoever, and it doesn't matter because it's just this wild like, yeah, we've committed to the bit. We've got our billboarded sprite versions of ourselves. I think, Robby, do you want to talk about feathering and shadows, please?
So here's the thing.
Feathering and
On
shadows?
any given video, so I use a system in After Effects for video editing where it's pretty easy to replace parts of videos. So like if Danny Flam hasn't recorded 3 of his video parts yet, I can still do the edit without him and replace him. Like he has a still photo for now, and I can replace his video later without having to go through and do all the timing again. I just replace what's called
Aren't we all John Stacy?
Yeah, I'm John Stacy. So with this, it's a bunch of compositions that are chilling on the stage. Normally I will do 8 or 9 iterations of a video that's just, okay, I made a little bit of progress, hit export. I made a little bit more progress, hit export. And we all talk about it in Slack. With this one, there are real-time shadows from generated lights in After Effects, and we're all in 3D. It took like 10 hours or 12 hours to render on my fast computer. So there are 2 versions of this video, and that's it. I was like, I'm only doing this twice. I'm not doing this again.
So
I remember you hitting go, and we're like,
Nish's question,
Sorry,
Robby,
go.
was: do you spend more of Game Brass time on visual editing or audio editing?
Seems like it's 100%.
Okay, speaking of absolute nonsense that we've done here, here's another great example. This opening shot right here from Monkey Island is not from Monkey Island. It is again.
He recreated
the whole thing
in Unity.
It is a recreated version of what is it? Is this Melee Island? Which one is this?
I made this in
Which is the
in
island that we're
Unity.
opening
If anyone here is in game dev,
It's so ridiculous.
Unity has like a terrain editor tool. So I just basically put a skybox, put a moon in the sky, put some like smoke effects, and then did the topology of the island based on a picture from the game. Because I really wanted to have this like flying in over the water shot, and it wasn't quite how I wanted it from capturing from the game. So I just like, you know what? I got a couple hours. I can do this in Unity, and it worked out. I'm pretty happy with it.
A couple of hours? You mean a couple of days, right?
It was like
a couple of hours.
It was like 4, maybe 5 hours because I hit a snag at one point.
I think we made so we have a tradition in the Game Brass of having terrible ideas, TM. Terrible ideas. And the terrible ideas invariably result in like a ton of work. The Game Brass are nothing if not absurd overachievers in everything. Like, why are we spending so much time on a thing that is not that big of a deal? But then you get things like that opening shot where it was like, I don't remember if like we had this conversation. I remember when this sparked, and then Robby's like, I wonder if I could just do this in Unity. And then like, this is at 9 o'clock at night. And then by 1 o'clock, he's like, what do you think, guys? And I'm like, can we have some more fog? But otherwise, that's great. That's wonderful. And there we go. And suddenly you have this. This video is remarkable because like we usually shoot in front of green screens, and you can see when we have green screen stuff. But then you went and did a whole ton of compositing to like drop in backgrounds where there were not actual backgrounds. So the real rooms that the Disco Cactus guys are in, right?
Because Disco Cactus isn't using green screens. So I wanted to kind of try and blend what they had and what we had. It was the best I could do.
It's the best I could do. It's great. It's wonderful. I love it.
I call this the twin mirror shot.
I still my favorite one is still the one that Robby did, and I think it was in Castles with the little cars, the people, us and the little cars driving around. What was that? Little pink cars that were like they like move around.
You don't even about the was it not cars?
500 videos.
I
have no idea.
Something that
I don't think they were cars. Are you talking about the Kirby thing?
That was kind of
Yeah. Oh, stars? What were
stars.
they? The little...
Stars, not cars.
Oh, I thought they were like little cars. Like, what were they, stars?
Eventually.
All right, Tristan H. Music asks for pirate names. All right, roll call, pirate names, score order, go.
John Robert Massa here.
You stole my name!
All right,
sorry, Robby. Today I'll just have to work harder in the future.
I don't know.
I got nothing, man.
Something with Flam. Flam. I don't know.
I like Jean Le Stacy is in this video.
Jean
Le Flam.
So, you want to hear a fun thing about my pirate outfit in this video?
Yes.
How
It's
authentic
total
it is.
fake.
None of those clothes are mine. All of those are Lauren.
I'll
I
say
love
fun fact about the outfit that I was wearing for this video: the like yellow scarf ascot kind of thing that I have is not actually a scarf. It's a Link hat that Mojo from the Zeldathon team made.
Oh,
Yeah, I will say that I'm also wearing my wife's clothes for this video. So
Well, the bandana is actually my dog's. He occasionally, when we bring him back from the groomers, he comes with this absolute adorable bandana. That was the only bandana I had. And another little half of these videos I shot when I lived in Amarillo. And so you see how I'm kind of hunched over in that? It's because the amount of room that I had to shoot, basically, so you have the green screen right there. Basically make that green screen half as wide, and that's the amount of room that I had. So I was doing this because that was the only way I could stay in the shot. Whereas in Amarillo, I had to film in my bathroom with it hanging off the shower curtain. So
I've had to pull some
Look,
pretty
though, I
bad
mean, like-
keys.
Also,
Oh my
can I
God.
say
The
that
scene-
Ben's, like shirt rip is one of my favorite
The
parts of
yeah.
the entire album.
Yeah.
the shirt rip is
Makes me
probably
so
my
happy.
all-time favorite, and I'll never
Ben
forget.
Wallace, you're a champ.
I'll never forget when we got like the pirate section videos, and we were just like going through them, and we see Ben's, and it just like absolutely made our night. It's so funny.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
it kinda-
we spent like a whole 2 days on that stupid chicken. It's still here. We still use it.
the rubber chicken with a pulley in the middle.
The rubber chicken with the pulley. Yeah.
You gotta love
So,
it.
yeah,
You know when you're
that's
gonna need
pretty-
one though.
That could come up
You
anytime.
never know, just in case. I mean, you don't know.
Exactly.
With COVID, we might need a rubber chicken.
I'm sure that would help.
Thank you, Leroy.
So let's see here. What's the next question we've got here?
Okay.
Um,
So Bruno asks, can we get the lore about how y'all met each other and decided to brass dem games? Do we want to have that talk now?
Yes, and I'm gonna pause
Yeah.
for that.
It was very romantic.
Leave my
It was
pirate
very
self on the
romantic.
screen.
wait, I gotta call out your outfit here at this end. How
Okay.
good this is in this stupid gag, real quick. Robbie, would you like to explain this outfit before you tell
Okay,
us about
so
it?
this is Stan, the used coffin salesman, and I had this idea of like green screening my jacket, but I didn't have a blazer that was a good enough color that I could key it well enough. So I ended up actually just picking 5 frames of my video of me doing this, and then manually coloring them in.
Important to note that the character actually has this absurdly loud jacket,
Yes.
and the texture stays constant even though he's animated, and it's
Love
a
it.
thing. It's hysterical, and just this recreation makes me so happy.
I've gotten a lot of compliments
Way
on
too
that one.
happy.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful.
All right. So what was the next question, Daniel?
The origin story of
Origin
the game
story.
Right.
Okay, so the Game Brass initially got started MagFest 2017, and I actually met Greg Arose, Gamer of the Winds. At that point, Greg was playing some music from Sheets, and this was before VG Lead Sheets was as prominent as it was, so he was like using Ninsheet music. And then he was just playing by himself on clarinet, and he had a couple other wind instruments there. I'm like, oh, I don't know this guy, but this is MagFest. Sure, I'm gonna go out and jam out with him. And then Robby saw me and Greg hanging out, and then Robby was talking, and he's like, oh, I was a musician too. I play guitar, and I used to play trumpet. So then,
At this point, I hadn't played the trumpet in about 12 years.
right, used to play the trumpet, operative. So then, like, we saw each other a couple times throughout the con, and then when it got towards the last day, like, everyone was up on the floor getting ready to leave MagFest, and then Robby wasn't able to get a ride to the airport because something fell through.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I don't remember how
I
exactly
think I was
it
like,
happened either.
I had tried to call for a cab and they had canceled, or they were like an hour late or something. And you're like, hey man, I don't mind. I can drive you to the airport. Which airport is it? And like, little did you know it was the further airport, but it was okay because you were driving that way anyway. So
Yeah.
So to continue the story, then we're in the car, and I was really, impressed with. This is my first MagFest. Everything was impressive to me, but it was impressive to me that Greg and Danny had been playing instruments with each other in the hallway, and there was just jam spaces, and it was all so fresh and new and cool. I was like, what if I just picked up the trumpet again? And I had been so influenced by the Canadian brass when I was, high school age, trying to be a trumpet player and a French horn player at the time. And I think everyone in the band unanimously loves the Canadian brass. So we said, what if we made a band like that, but specifically for video games? And I remember saying in the car, like, what if they were called the Game Brass, or what if we called? I think it was Game Brass at the time.
Yep.
Specifically for everybody in the chat, we write our name as the Game Brass, 3 words. I don't know why it's like that, but it's like an SEO thing, and it's like that in Spotify. So just always write the. I don't know, it's a thing. And that's how we all. Oh, that was how the two of us had the idea.
Right. And then it was the Materia Collective album Spira, which was dedicated to Final Fantasy X, that we decided, hey, we're going to get a group together to play this. And then Robby did the arrangement, and we got John Robert, Alex, and Mark Papagan for that. And then we were talking to them. It's like, hey, we'd be interested in making this collaboration of people a more regular thing. Would you be interested in doing that with us? So then Mark wasn't able to commit, and then we found Danny, and then from there we started with the Castles project, and we just were making a bunch of arrangements and doing that. And it was mostly like me and Robby who were making the arrangements at first. But then the next year, MagFest 2018, when we went, this was actually the first time that the Game Brass got to go together in person and hang out and play together in person.
Awesome.
That's when we recorded that video.
Yeah.
Yep.
Man.
And then adding John Stacy kind of got added to the group at that point because Danny, when he was going to MagFest, he had to arrive slightly later. So then we had John Stacy play with us when Danny wasn't there, and then when Danny was there, then he took over. But then that's how John Stacy got to play a bit more with us. And then it was summer that year of 2018 that Thomas had approached us with the idea, hey, I'd be interested in getting together an album of winter songs for you guys.
Sorry, Thomas, what was the original idea for that album? Because I think it turned out a little different than you planned.
No, I think it turned out exactly what I planned because I was like, I thought this is before meeting you guys. I thought I want to release an album, and I thought video games and I thought Christmas would sound good with brass. And so there's the Game Brass. That just seems to go together. And I already knew John.
I thought that you wanted to do a full orchestra.
That's what you're getting at, because we had
sure, but no, I remember thinking I knew the Game Brass existed and thought brass and Christmas go together, I guess. So let's just try that. And then that was in around August, I think. That album was the fastest produced one, for better or worse.
I mean, it really is. It's lovely. Mm-hmm. There was a fair bit of time where you were playing around with full orchestra ideas, and I think it's all so strong that it stands just with us, just with the brass ensemble, and it came together so well.
It wasn't as successful that got cut. Mostly just
the real dumb thing about that, of course, is the bonus track that we put in at the last possible second, which is a story for another time. But yeah.
But yeah, that's the game. That's the Game Brass origin story.
Yeah. And now we're a superhero.
Mm-hmm.
Collectively.
One superhero, but it takes easily 7 of us.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Sounds about
next on our question list.
Yeah.
Next questions.
Okay. One answer. Let's answer one that was submitted earlier ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
So, Double Dibs asks, "What is your favorite YouTube channel?" Let's all answer it, but really, really try to keep it concise. I'll say that mine, I really like math and puzzles and problem solving, and I really enjoy a channel called Cracking the Cryptic, which is 2 world champion Sudoku players and cruciverbalists who solve very difficult puzzles, usually Sudoku, but with some kind of extra added twist. And they make the puzzles available. Sometimes I try to fill them out myself, but usually I just watch them do it.
I wanted to do the hard mode of this question. Nobody can answer a VGM channel, okay? We love all of our
Yeah.
friends equally.
We love
No
all our
VGM.
friends. Disco Cactus
I
is
would
our favorite
say-
Disco Cactus.
Disco Cactus is my
Sure.
favorite Disco Cactus. I would have to say my favorite YouTube channel is either I like to make stuff or Wood Gears, which are both like maker. They'll be like, today I'm going to make a table saw out of scraps I found in my closet, and they just do, and it's amazing every time.
I think. Oh, go.
No. You.
Okay. So I got a couple like weird things, but like one of my favorite interesting things, because I'm a bit of I'm gonna name a couple of things. So one is a channel called No Clip, which is just lovely documentaries of video game development and like production. They delve into a lot of very interesting things. It's just stupendously executed, very professional. But another thing that I'm really a big fan of is in the past I've done some composition work for a YouTube channel called Rocket Jump, and Rocket Jump has a very good friend called Corridor Digital, and they make a lot of action shorts, much like how Rocket Jump has done stuff like very big high energy things. And then they have a spin-off from that called Corridor Crew, and on the Corridor Crew channel, it's like the people that are behind this YouTube channel, and they have a program that does like reactions to, like, they bring in VFX people and special effects people and like sometimes like stunt people and stunt driving people, and like have them sit down with them and look at excerpts of good and sometimes terrible films. Like you'll have a stuntman who is stuntman or stuntwoman who's done all these Marvel films, like looking at like Jackie Chan fight scenes and also like Marvel films and like big like bits of nonsense, and describing sometimes how they did scenes that we're watching here, and it's super cool. And same thing with special effects, very very fun. And plus like watching like Adam Savage build literally anything is just a very soothing experience. So that's a completely separate thing. All right, I've talked enough.
It's such a John Robert thing. What's your favorite channel? Okay, here are my top 10.
I got more, but I shut myself up.
Terrible ideas.
That quarter thing that he mentioned has a spin-off, and that spin-off has another little spin-off. It's about food, but the spin-off about the food.
Yeah, there's like 4 different things there.
Spin-off about peanuts, and there's a little channel, very, very unique, very, very small, and
They have
very,
a channel where they just cut things with a guillotine. It's great.
And it specializes just the peanut shells. So basically, they show you everything about the peanut shells, and they spend hours. And I said, no, that's not my favorite. Anyway, my favorite is chess. I watch chess all the time. I watch. I got all the big chess channels, like I got Mator, Karu Nakamura, all the guys. I just love that kind of stuff. It's just especially when I'm driving, I need something that can last for, let's say, 2 hours in a drive. I can just hear those guys just going, and now am I gonna put the king over there? Yes, Chad, we're gonna kill. Yeah, it's like watching a sports game, but it's just like much more exciting. That's my but there's a spin-off.
This is very unexpected.
A little channel spin-off. That what they do is they talk about
John Stacy, go.
So I actually thought about this because I saw this question on the thing, and I'm like, I should think about this. I'm not going to talk very much, but I realize that there are a few that just basically in no specific order. Davey 504, Abroad in Japan, the 8-bit guy.
Abroad in Japan.
Yeah, I love this thing.
Abroad in Japan. No, wait. Now what's that?
He's a British guy that lives in Japan, and he's lived there since 2013, and he just vlogs about his experience
abroad.
in Japan.
Like abroad in Japan.
Yeah, his name is Chris Broad, so he's
But he's
abroad
also-
in Japan. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
It's a good play on words.
The 8-bit guy is one of my favorite ones to binge, and then there's another one, but I forgot it. I'm also an Adam Neely fan, but yeah, those are the main ones. Oh, and Games Done Quick. I love Games Done Quick.
Nice.
I love binging marathons that I missed. And
Alex and Thomas?
Alex?
Oh, is it me?
Is that
Oh,
my turn?
Alex. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, for me, I had to like immediately pull up my like favorites list, because I was like, oh no, I pretty much only watch VGM stuff on YouTube. So excluding that, there are a couple that I very much enjoy. Game Maker's Toolkit which goes into talking about games and the breakdown of all that was really cool. I really like Did You Know Gaming because it's like it's just facts, and they'll do like an hour-long thing of just gaming facts. It's just very interesting. I have a friend who does Beat Saber videos named Ritual Neo, probably one of my favorite channels I watch consistently. And then Abroad in Japan, of course, just all the time, every time that he releases something new. And then finally, I listen to watch ACG, just the letters ACG. He's like a reviewer for video games, and it's like probably my favorite and most honest reviewer when it comes to games, especially if it's something I'm like thinking I might play, but I don't know. But yeah, that'd be my top.
Tomas?
It turns out when I look at my suggested videos, the first thing that comes up is Adam Neely. And then some philosophy channels. So that's just all you have to know about me.
That seems reasonable. I can buy that.
Love it. Right to the point. That's perfect.
Great.
I remembered one. Tom Scott. That was the other one.
Oh, I don't know that
Tom
one.
Scott is like, I always forget he exists, and then I see his videos and it's just like, oh, I have joy in my life again. So yeah, I love Tom Scott.
Sweet. Okay, how are we doing on our questions list?
We're about halfway. All right,
Let's keep going.
Feel free
Let's just
to
have
keep
fun
coming.
with these.
Okay, I'm gonna group a couple of these together. So we have Zach Schmidt asking, of the game soundtracks you haven't hit yet, which one are you dying to play? I'm assuming that means like do as the game brass. And then similar to that, Levi Bechtold asks the question, most desirable, if assuming that like licensing problems aren't problems, most desirable album of things that can't be licensed were available options.
I have the perfect answer for this, and it is Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Thank you.
Yep.
Final answer. Locked it in.
All right, that's it. All right, thanks for coming to the Q&A. Perfect
See you,
answer. It's done.
We can't drop that. We can't top
Can't
that.
touch it.
Doomed.
I definitely have my top two for each of those. For the one that would want to touch that we haven't yet, Monster Hunter, especially Monster Hunter World, and one that would love to touch other than licensing, Smash. Just let us have access to all the Smash stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta smash, guys. We gotta do this.
And then Draken Stark also asks, so far the Game Brass has put out seasonal albums. We now have a winter, fall, and summer one. Would the next one be spring with a potential Zelda Oracle of Seasons track? I love Oracle of Seasons. It's one of my favorite Zelda games. The Oracle games are super underrated. Unfortunately, it's not licensable. I know because I looked.
You're on the right
We
track.
do not speak of things that cannot
Yeah,
be.
we were
a
not going to
tragedy.
confirm or deny, but we've had the conversation. And yeah, that's definitely not a licensable one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And neither is Super Mario RPG, coincidentally.
Yeah. I'll say for mine, I would be very interested in doing Pokemon Gen 3 with all y'all, because Pokemon Gen 3 Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald is specifically known and specifically memed on for having huge, super prominent trumpet and horn parts. People always say, the horns, aim for the horns, Pikachu. So it would be a pretty good fit for our group. And also it's coming up on an anniversary in a couple of years.
I'm realizing I need to plug in my device here.
Any other thoughts?
I have one. All right, so the one I remember because I thought one and I forgot it. I want to do Yoshi Safari, but that's nobody's ever heard of it and it's not licensable.
I have that
Yoshi
game.
Yoshi Safari has one of the best soundtracks ever written. Changed my mind, but the other one
it's
that
in our questions.
Mother 3. That's the one that I would want to do. I would
Mother 3 is
and then
another good one.
At some point, I want to do a February 33rd Mother 3, but it's never going to happen. So
King Quest album.
oh, that'd be fun.
A King's Quest album.
King's Quest.
I wonder if that would be licensable. That's been a release. There was a King's Quest thing a few years ago that they kind of brought it back. So
Who took Sierra? That's the.
Yeah, for those who don't know, a piece of music, we can only license it if it's actually
In the United
been released
States.
as an album, specifically music in the U.S. That's the limitation and you can usually search through like vgmdb.net, and that's kind of the best place to research that. But they're still sometimes hard to like find for sure.
Well, the original,
Was
the
this
original
album
concept
actually
was like the
released?
1 and 2 and 3? They didn't want to pay anybody, so they basically used just regular classical pieces, just like William Tell Overture, and they stuck it in there and things like that.
I think you might be right. It's been a while since I played those. I just remember playing for a long time and then not having done a thing at the very beginning and then dying, because that is the King's Quest experience. TM. Let's see here. Next question, right? What have we got?
Yeah. Before we do that, we're at a stopping point in the videos now. Robby, do we want to talk a little bit about Surf 30 and/or Summers?
Thank you. So yes, I believe he is a French guy living in Ireland, if I'm not mistaken, but he's also like a surfer. Anyway, really cool guy, plays a lot of cool instruments. This was one of the first ones we had the video concept ready for. Like, I did a little mock-up of, where's the shot? This, where the surfing is happening, and then we are sort of green screened into the water. I thought that was really kind of funny very early in the process, and so we went with that. That was kind of cool. And then I think there's a lot to say about Summers, actually, featuring Samantha Ballard. This is Daniel's theremin feature, but also Daniel's in-ground pool feature.
I am envious of him every time I see that, just because it must be really nice to have just a swimming pool that you can play trombone in whenever you feel like. It's got to be lovely.
Dude, I was so scared the entire time when I was filming that, because I was in the deep end and just like huddled as close as I could, just like, don't fall in, don't get the instrument wet. And that's not like my
swam.
That's not like my main trombone. It's my student model, but still, I don't want to get things wet.
Even I've done that. Didn't you ever see that video that I do the water slide into the pool while playing trombone? Yeah, it's great.
This was another one that was fun with like the references. So whenever we do an edit, we try to fit in as many little secrets and things as we can. So like, you know, we do the sort of pass by of Summers in the beginning. I tried to make everybody look like they were in Miami, or literally green screen them in front of Miami. We have a viewer who messaged me after the fact who was like, where was Alex's shot? It's like, oh, it was, and I had found it from like a royalty-free stock photo Shutter site, whatever thing. And she was like, you know, where is this? I looked up the name on the sign and I found a specific street in Miami. She was like, oh, I've been there. I grew up in that like area. I was like, oh, okay, it's a real place. That's cool. And then like the hint guy, and I put stuff swimming in the water. Samantha was a ton of fun to work with. She had a lot of input on, you know, what she liked and didn't like in this. Danny is literally at the beach in a lawn chair for this shot.
We could not keep him from actually going to the beach. He went and did this, and I love it. It's very ridiculous, but
so it's not
the Danny Flam in a comfortable chair at the beach, lounging there with the breeze in his hair is 100% real. And brings so much life.
It was in the middle of like COVID, and I came there. I was like, oh, there's going to be nobody at the beach. So I showed up at 9 o'clock, and it was just whenever, I think it was the Memorial Day weekend or something like that, or just before. And I, if I remember correctly, I showed up at 8 o'clock, or 8:30 in the morning, and I did the video, and there was nobody there. And then, like, by the time I left, like, all of New York decided, okay, we're F this COVID. We're tired of staying at home. We're all showing up at the beach. And there was lines literally within like an hour. The whole place was jam-packed. So, yeah.
That's stressful, man. My goodness.
Crazy.
Yeah, I would note out of that for sure. All right, so that's that one. I'm going to hit play on the next one, which is Treasure Trove Cove, featuring the composer of Treasure Trove Cove, Mr. Grant Kirkhope.
Love it.
Cool.
Yay,
what do we got
Grant.
for questions?
Okay. Want to do the music? We have a couple of music tone questions. So Gamer of the Winds asks, how would a trumpet player approach Latin-style music from a tone and timbre perspective?
Loud?
That's some... feels like, I don't know. That feels like not enough. I mean, how do you play in that style? I think there's a lot of different styles like that you can lean into. Like what I tend to think of for for some things. Like I think of like the sound that like our good friends over at Mariachi Entertainment System get is very almost like that type of trumpet playing, which is not necessarily what you're talking about here, but as something in that similar vein is like very operatic. Like it's a vocal vibrato to the tone, which is different than other stuff. If you're going for like a 70s or 60s or something like that Latin kind of sound, it's a little bit different. Most of that stuff tends to be much brighter and like it's a jazz tone. Like so you're getting on the brighter edge of things to kind of cut through and carry over a section. But it really kind of depends on the piece and everything else. And I don't know if I do a massive amount of alteration of my sound. I'm sure I do to some degree to kind of fit the piece, but like it's subconscious rather than a conscious thing most of the time. Robbie, do you have anything to throw in on that?
So I'm definitely ill-equipped to answer that specific question, but I'm always of the mind that if there's something that's a specific style or something that is from a specific culture, I'm always going to try and either get a player from that style or culture, or I'm going to talk to that person to find out what their recommendation is, because I don't know. I've seen a mariachi band in person once, and twice, and it was sick. I have no idea how they did what they did, and I'm not going to try and emulate that and make a fool of myself, and then do a disservice to their music as well. So, I mean, that's my take.
I can actually speak intelligently on this, which is not common, but
yes,
you live in Texas.
I played in a mariachi band for a while. I played trumpet in a mariachi band, and later I played alto horn. But it was called. I'm not even going to try to. I didn't say anything my entire time there. I just played. But basically, the English translation was the Sound of Juarez. That was the name of the band. And the thing that I picked up from playing in that band is that nobody read music in there. Even the brass players, they didn't read, and so pretty much they were just playing by ear. And because of that, that influenced the sound because they tried to imitate the sound that they were, hearing. But the other things that I picked up from that little experience is one, that they used different equipment for that style of playing, because one of them was also a jazz player and he couldn't read there either, but he would use, like mouthpiece wise, he would use a Bach 3C whenever he was doing jazz. Whenever he was doing Latin, he would use a 3F. So any of the mariachi style playing, any of that. And then actually whenever I do Latin stuff, I play on a 3E. And it's just, that is my Latin mouthpiece because it makes everything a lot brighter. It makes it easier to play high. And then whenever actually focusing it, the way that they explained to me to play is basically imagine like just this really, I don't want to say pompous, I can't remember the word they used, but imagine, this guy and he's just like the most confident guy in the thing and he stands up there and he's like, "Ooh!" He's like, imagine that in your head whenever you play it. Now just put it through the instrument. And then that was literally all I was told. And it's like, good. Also tongue harder, go. And that was it. That was the advice I received. And so I did some stuff trying to fit into that kind of thing. So I can speak intelligent on that subject.
That's cool. I have two little things to say about what you said. One, for those of you playing along at home who don't have a clue what he talked about with mouthpieces, when we talk about mouthpieces, there's a number and a letter in the Bach world. The number is how big the circle is, and the letter is how deep it is. So 3C and 3F are the same circle, but 3C is further from your mouth, and 3F is very close to your mouth. And the other thing was, you reminded me, I had a conversation with David Ortiz. Sorry, am I cutting out?
No, you're good.
You're good. Okay, cool. I'm getting a couple of internet blips, and I'm worried about it. Sorry, shout out to Danny's amazing costume in this video. Beautiful. So yeah, Danny has like a million mouthpieces.
A bouquet of mouthpieces.
I remember talking to David Ortiz, who is the band leader for Mariachi Entertainment System, and he was telling me that when he does mariachi music, he doesn't follow a score. Like they have an arrangement, but he doesn't read the sheets when he's playing because he's just thinking like modes and scales and how should this sound and what is this jump and what's that jump. But when he plays one of our arrangements, he's looking at the sheets and he's thinking like classical brain. So it was like two different ways to approach it. And I thought we had a long conversation about this. It was really interesting.
It's a little bit of, again, coming back to like that vocal quality, because it is like the way they tend to learn stuff, or at least like from what I've talked with David, like, what he said, it strikes me more like the way you learn, because they do everything without music, like the way you learn a show. If you're going to play it live, like you memorize everything. And maybe you have music at one point, but like it just becomes second nature. You're not thinking about every bit of expression. You're playing off of the other people around you, and maybe the dynamics aren't quite what they were written, but that's the way that it comes out of that moment, etc. Anyway, fun and excitement.
Question. Okay, next question. This one was asked specifically to me. I'll address my question to you since you play the trombone. This comes from Noah Jacob. Is there a specific player that you model your tone after? And for me personally, I've listened to a lot of the extremely good, extremely talented trombone players. My favorite of those would be Christian Lindberg, and part of that as well, like, he has such a sense of humor in a lot of his playing. There's a video that he did of the piece Stardust, which, if you're not familiar, it's kind of like a Victor Borge skit. It's a duet between him and the pianist, and then at some point they're going against each other. At some point, he's just like trying to trip the pianist up, and that kind of a sense of humor really resonates with me. And he also plays these very fast, high passages. My tone specifically, I have a large trombone, but I tend to feel most comfortable in the high range, and that's why I think I get the sound that I do. But yeah, if you're interested in improving your tone and focusing on making that better, just try listening to the people that you like and seeing what you can take away from how they play.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to instruments, it's really it's very situational, because like when I had to do like a thing for like Jay-Z and they asked me to sound like a beginner, I actually had to find a trombone that like it's not really sound like a beginner, but they wanted a certain tone that was very like a street tone, like somebody with that doesn't have formal training. That was probably the hardest gig I've ever had. Took me like 5 hours to actually try to recreate something. How would a beginner sound, or how would somebody with that tone? It's not an easy task. I mean, like the whole, like it leads to the other question about the Latin thing. About it's about timing. It's about everything. I mean, it's a whole cultural thing. It's about the I mean, it's really. That's why I have so many mouthpieces. It's just to find exactly the right tone for the problem at hand. It's always. It's a very difficult question to come like what do you do? Yeah, so that's
very interesting.
That's my 2 cents.
What's our next question, Daniel?
Okay, so similar question, but
you.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I want to say shout out to Purple Shala, who plays piano with us on this, and we just did another track with her last week for the Octopath main theme. I'm super, super proud of all of our amazing cosplays in this video, and now I'm going to hit the next button. Go ahead, Daniel. Thank you.
Cool. Sounds good. Okay, so Peterson Normie has a similar question, but for horn. I play horn, but anyone can answer. What are some of your favorite breathing exercises or concepts from your warm-up or fundamentals? For me personally, going back to like the tone conversation, your mouth when you play a brass instrument is very much as much of a muscle as any other kind of muscle group that you would work out, and to that extent it can get tired, but the more that you practice with it, the better you'll get at that task over time. So a good thing to do, particularly for tone and endurance, is just playing long tones consecutively, hold it out for a long time, and then don't be afraid to take breaks if your chops get shot.
I've always found like I used to actually warm up properly, and now there's just so much recording on so many different instruments that I'm getting particularly lax in that. But when I was regularly doing like I would regularly be playing in like 3 or 4 ensembles, like in a week, sometimes multiple rehearsals in a day, and you just never had a chance to like warm down. So I got just like a real simple kind of scalar warm up, just starting on like G and moving up, kind of like one of the Clark exercises, like really reduced. And then I just go into scales and stuff like that. The idea is just kind of increase the flexibility and get your actual like blood flow to your lips to come to where it needs to be, to make it through stuff, because otherwise you'll wear yourself out real fast. I don't know. warm-ups, fun and excitement. Don't do what we do now. Well, don't do what I do now, which is nothing. And then just play a super high G immediately, because you got to do it. I don't know. It's stupid.
You do have to play super high G early on in the process, though, because if you're too late to record your high G, if you've been recording something for 2 hours and then have to play your high G, then it's not going to come out as cleanly as it does if you would have done it earlier in the session.
Yep. You warm up and you're like, oh man, I can hit these E flats and Fs and stuff above the staff now. This is great. I know in about 20 minutes when I'm trying to record this, it's going to just decline rapidly.
Yeah, if you use soap,
so
it helps the hygiene. Oh, high G. High G, sorry.
Nicely done.
So,
oh boy.
I'll keep this short. I'll keep this as short as I can. In 2015, 2016, I actually came down with focal dystonia, and so basically I had to completely rebuild everything that I did musically from the ground up. And the person that helped me recover from this was Dr. Giulio Manfredi, and basically the way that he taught me after that was because we could start over. You know, he was my horn professor for undergrad also. He gave me this long process to do, and I did it nothing but this for 6 weeks, which basically is just okay, breathe. Okay, now breathe into a straw or the back of the shank, and you're just going to breathe air out and do that over and over again. And eventually the byproduct of that was that I don't warm up now. I don't need to warm up because essentially, because the style of playing I use and the embouchure I use now is more close to his, it's basically at maximum efficiency as it can be at all times. And a lot of that comes from the fact that whenever I do play, I'm focusing exclusively on air. And because of I do the exercise about once a week now, where I just start over, breathe, in, out, okay, now mouthpiece, okay, now horn, and you're just going to breathe in and out. And the whole idea is that it's just, I try to make sure that my practice is as efficient as possible and maximize my efficiency. And that way, when I go to start playing, I'm just playing. Like there's no warm up to it because I don't use one. So it's like, that doesn't work for everybody, but if you want information on the breathing thing, it can change the world, and I will give a spiel about it. So you can message me about it.
I never actually warm up. But the interesting thing is I found is when we're doing our videos and we're doing the miming and you have to hold the mouth in the position and blow air, so you're going along. Yes, we do the videos, we overdub. But I find that my chops have the same amount of stress as if I'm playing because I hold them in the position. Once I'm holding them in position, it really doesn't matter if I'm actually playing or if I'm not, because I'm so used to holding them in position, I'm not gonna like fake it. So it's very interesting that what you're saying about the air, it's a very effective exercise to get everything into position. I know a guy that his whole career is based on that, like a main trumpet player here in New York. Amazing trumpet player, but that's his whole thing was to practice. It doesn't matter if sound comes out of your chops or not when you're blowing. It just matters that you're blowing and holding it in position. Eventually, the sound will start coming out by itself. It's just ingenious, and that's how all the high note players in New York learn their technique. You just hold it in position the right way. Eventually, the sound will start coming out. Yeah.
Okay. Robby, you said you look like you're about to say something.
I was just checking if the stream was working because it wasn't for a second there. And I'm back on the screen. So hi.
Yeah, you're back. Welcome back. Hi, Robby.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Robby.
Okay. So we just played Bubble Man with Ro Panuganti.
Yes. Shout out to his really cool fish shot that he rendered. Where is it?
So good. I love those fish. Is that right towards the beginning when we dove underwater? Or
I don't remember. I wish I did. I kind of pointed it out when it went by. But yeah, it took him a long time and he rendered these 3D fish. It was beautiful. Anyway, shout out to Ro, and also shout out to Gal, who's the drummer on every track we have that has drums. So Gal, if you're watching, hey, thank you very much. You're the best.
Right. So that's Bart. That's so I brought him in from console to play with us a couple of tracks.
Right,
Yeah.
and the
great.
console track we have actually coming up pretty soon. So that's
Nice.
good to mention as well. I'm going to play Home Girl Dove featuring Videri. This is another scene that I made in Unity because apparently
overachieving.
And it doesn't even look that great, if I'm being honest. And
Is
actually,
this acceptable?
I think Bruno was in the chat earlier talking about Blender earlier today. I made that in Blender. So anyway,
Very cool.
let's answer some questions.
Okay, so we have a couple of questions about future plans and goals. Want to talk about that now?
Yeah.
Okay, so once again, I'm going to kind of group some of these together. We have Veggie Sarah 94 asks, here's my question for the Q&A. What are your long-term goals for this channel? And then Rodiger asks, are you planning to perform at PAX West Seattle in the future? And Shin asks, full symphonic orchestra when? Samuel Allen asks, do you plan to keep up with the collaborations? I loved Brassino Isles, loved it. So I'm kind of lumping all these together as an excuse to talk about
The future.
The future, the great beyond. So, long-term goals for the channel. We actually met a little bit earlier today, and we were kind of talking about how to respond for this. Robby, would you like to take it from here?
Sure. So we started out, like we explained earlier, 3 years ago, sort of like, hey, what if there was a brass quintet for video games? And I think one of our main focuses then was to try and create a repertoire that, like a video game repertoire for brass quintet, which just hasn't existed. And unfortunately, there are some licensing issues when it comes to sheet music. And we get a lot of questions on our channel about, oh, can we get the sheets and this and that? It's really hard to get the rights to be able to even give away those arrangements, let alone sell them or distribute them in a legal way. So that's one of our major goals, but we can't make progress toward that, week to week. I think that as a band, I would like to see us do some official things. So last night, when I was awake at 3 a.m, I noticed that Outrun was trending, and Outrun is one of the tracks from this album. So I tweeted on that hashtag, and I mentioned the composer, and he quote tweeted us, and then we were like, we've gotten over 300 retweets or something. Anyway, and he tweeted back and said, next year is the 35th anniversary. I would love for this band to do an official album with us. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I want to do that. So I think that I would like, as a goal for our band, to do some official things, whether it's to record on original soundtracks like, John and I write all the time, or on someone else's, or on official, like the Sega album for Passing 3 or for Outrun. That would be awesome.
That would be a great goal. Like something like that would be.
Yeah.
Super fun.
As for live, obviously the live music industry is a little bit in turmoil at the moment, so that's another separate question. But would we play at PAX if they invited us? Probably. But because we are all scattered across North America, it's really hard for us to rehearse. So we would have to get together a few days beforehand and have rehearsals every day leading up to it, but also not blow out our chops. Does anyone want to tell the people our MagFest tradition?
Oh, can I please?
Yeah.
The nightmare that is our MagFest tradition. So every year we get together at MagFest. MagFest tends to start Thursdays and runs through Thursday to Sunday. And invariably, we all get in the day before. I tend to drive, so I get in, I drive from Chicago. It's not an insubstantial journey. And I tend to get in midnight, something like that, in that range, 11:30, midnight. If everything goes well, it takes 12 hours to get here. Or get there, I should say, from here. And invariably, what happens is there's just about enough time to check in and then go to a 1:30 or 2 a.m. rehearsal. And then we rehearse for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and completely annihilate our faces. And we're absolutely exhausted. And then we crawl back to our room and sleep. And then if it's last year at MagFest, we wake up at 5:30 in the morning and go to another rehearsal for another group, and then melt our faces again, and then go to another rehearsal and then die again. And pretty soon we just have nothing left, and it's noon of the first day, which is a good time to be absolutely shot. And we look at each other and go, man, we haven't practiced much of our stuff outside of once. So we could rehearse this afternoon. There's a time from 5 to 6, and we'll try to get that in, and then we'll try to play them. But we're all so tired at this point that like we just eventually just start singing our parts because that's where we're at, because no one has any face left, and you're just trying to kind of like get your brain in the same mode, but also be able to play the music when it comes time to put on. You know, we usually do 1 or 2 concerts at MagFest, and it is trying to practice and prepare music that we have played before, but only played in this very specific mode. And some of it is, like, honestly, like, not to knock any of our arrangers, it is very difficult, and it is actually almost too difficult to play perfectly live because we can do multiple takes when we're working like this. And some of it is just, like, literally impossible. Like, I have to switch instruments in an 8th rest, and there's no way to do that without someone standing right next to you to hand you a flugelhorn or something to that effect, so you can switch right away, because there's no way to change in time. So you'd have to drop out, you know, like simple technical stuff like that. Two things that are like, well, you know, this part is written incredibly high, and I can do it, but I can do it maybe 1 time in 4, and that's not a good ratio for a live thing. So you write alternate parts, or you try to simplify things and make it more playable. But the end result is they're all challenging pieces of music. And so we try to choose music we can do, and we try to rehearse it. But even then, you're kind of working against yourself. The amount of rehearsal you can get in kills your endurance for the actual concert. And you need all the rehearsal you can get because you haven't been able to rehearse together up until that point.
Right.
So MagFest is an exhausting, fun, wonderful time, but it's challenging as a result.
Yeah, so like, I mean, we love to watch groups like, you know, Disco Cactus or Videri String Quartet, who meet up fairly regularly and have rehearsal together, and they can practice being in time together, knowing when their entrances are, not having to depend on sheet music all the time. Or, you know, Videri will read a score together and use a foot pedal to change, you know, pages on an iPad, whatever. We don't have that down because that's not our setup. I'm really excited about the idea of a potential virtual MagFest this year, because if we could be involved with that, I think we could do a really cool virtual concert. It would have to be pre-recorded because of sync issues, but I'm excited about that idea. This was a really long answer to say, yes, we would totally play a live show if the circumstances were right. But it's really not a focus of our band to do live stuff. It's really this video production-y stuff.
That's a fair answer, yeah.
Yeah. Game Brass is also part of this group called VGSE, Video Games in Concert, which is a group that we're trying to bring music, like video game music, to the mainstream on main stages. Now with COVID, it's not going to happen for the next, let's say, a year, I would say, maybe half a year to a year. But we are trying to get it where it's financially viable for groups that are video game groups to come out and play. So definitely once COVID is over, hopefully soon, but definitely it might be we were discussing it. It could be a long-term goal to perform. It's one of the things that we don't know yet what's going to happen, because COVID really turned the tables on live performance. And playing live there's no
that's a downer.
technological
I'm
thing.
sorry to cut you off.
Yep.
Yeah,
let's move on.
Let's go to
downer.
some different topics.
Let's not
here.
talk about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Online
Collaborations and potentially a full symphonic orchestra as a collaboration. Do we want to talk about that a little bit?
We did it
I
once.
think
Hit play.
Okay, hit play for sure. So to get to Samuel Allen and Shin's question. Also, I love this video, by the way. Now I'm distracted by the pretty colors.
It's so trippy. I love it.
We definitely love playing with our friends. We're happy that so many of our friends were interested in playing with us and making this album possible. It's really because of like the video game music community at large that this was able to come together and be a thing, and that means absolutely the world. That means absolutely the world to me. So yes, we absolutely plan to keep up with collaborations, whether it manifests itself in another album in which every single track is a collaboration. That we don't necessarily know yet, but we intend to keep playing with other people, potentially in an orchestral setting. Also, to Shin's point, Jordan Moore is a euphonium and French horn player who plays with our group occasionally, and he actually wrote orchestral arrangements. I'm thinking of the Final Fantasy VII one in particular, that a lot of people from the Game Brass played on, and a lot of people that we actually collaborated with for Brassino Isles played on. And then another opportunity that we had was John Paul Hayward came to us with the idea of a Chrono Cross orchestral tribute album, and we got to be the brass section for that. So collaborations like that are a lot of fun and definitely something that we're interested in.
Yeah, check out John's Cross Symphonic album if you want to hear the Game Brass as a brass section in a symphonic setting. It's a just phenomenal album. Really, just he did an amazing job, and it was a blast to work on. There's the idea, like we've done a lot of stuff with other VGM people. You can hear a lot of it, like if you just dig through a lot of the things on like Materia community albums. Tons of stuff there. The idea of doing like a Game Brass plus orchestra thing might be kind of fun. We might revisit it.
Yeah, I know Thomas especially is interested in that too.
Yeah, we just got to start the game winds and the game strings, and then we've got the game chambers.
Game chambers.
Yeah, that sounds like game chambers. Sounds like a bunch of people that are just like isolated in a private room and just like playing Super Nintendo.
Yeah, but it also has this really sinister air to it, frankly. Like you've been sent to the game, like,
oh no,
for your crimes, you are sentenced to the game chamber. Where you will. Yeah, it's
and then,
all
of course,
over.
the game
yes,
bang will be the X-rated version for the.
No.
All right, stop.
What? No,
that's terrible.
I mean, all right, y'all ready?
Moving on.
Going on.
All right, y'all ready for a quick one? We get to say the title only. Title only. Favorite music that you played on the Game Brass. Everyone has to go. Score order. John Robert Matz.
No, don't do this to me.
That's what you get for being first trumpet.
I hate it. God.
Come on.
Monkey Island. Monkey Island. I love that. It's great. It's
That's
wonderful.
the problem.
Okay,
Inside
Monkey
the
Island.
Main theme from Monkey Island. There.
Robbie says inside the
can't choose
castle
it now.
walls. All right, Danny.
Me? Bombing mission, 100%.
Nice. John Stacey.
Roll the Revolving from Deltarune.
Okay, me is Luigi's Mansion. Alex.
I'm gonna be self-serving. A Spirit of Hospitality from Celeste.
Nice. Thomas.
Beautiful.
I mean, I've only really played on one track, and it was Phantom Train.
Exactly. Good job.
Keep you on your toes.
You got it easy.
You pass. All right, DK Island is up next.
Yep. All right. That was a fun one. Let's do another fun one that is more about us personally. Also, try to keep it brief if you can. Doug Perry, whoever that guy is, says, I want to know what everyone's unexpected skill or hobby is.
Mine is the side jump. I'm like a world-class side jumper. I jump side. I'm also very good at power sitting.
Power sitting. That's
power sitting is my thing.
John?
Oh, him, John?
Everybody's John.
You said everybody.
I'm John Stacey.
No, I'm John Stacey.
I guess I'll go then. Okay. So I study languages on the side. Like, I study Japanese, but I mainly study the written language exclusively, just because I don't really have people to converse with, but I just love the way it looks. So calligraphy and that. And then I also do electronics work on the side. I like taking apart circuits and fixing them and that kind of shindig. So.
I know. Now I know. Okay, so my unexpected skill or hobby is maybe expected for some people. But in addition to being a composer and musician and trumpet player, I'm a voice actor. So I get to do fun voices, and those are always a great time.
Okay, so do some. Let's hear.
You want me to do some voices for you? Really? It's not that hard. You can you can just slip right into it, and it's really not that simple. It's quite simple actually.
Yeah.
If you think about it, for just a moment, you can. Yes, well, it's a sort of a thing you can do with some skill and talent. You can eventually become reasonably good at it, and It's sort of an acquired taste, you might say, but it does work after a fashion. Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Sorry, I'll be quiet now.
I'll say-
my unexpected
Go ahead.
hobby or talent is woodworking. I build stuff. I don't know, bed frames, desks, stuff. Build stuff. It's fun.
I'll say for me, a lot of people
Bob the
don't-
Builder. Robbie, Bob. Sorry.
A lot of people don't know it, but I'm actually really into basketball. I watch I really like watching basketball, and for playing
Toronto
things,
sucked.
Toronto disappointed me for the playoffs.
So
Also,
you're
the
missing
Sixers
the
disappointed me
game.
for the
But do you know who won tonight? Are we missing the game?
I don't want to get into it. I don't want to get into it.
Ooh.
Not here, not now.
So
Yeah.
I also really enjoy playing racket sports and other activities that involve a lot of precision. Tennis, racquetball, squash, all for it. Alex?
For me, I mean, I don't have a lot going on. I'm kind of boring on that. But I guess one thing people might not know is that I do electronic music. So there might be some more stuff that I will be sharing in the future. But that's like the big other thing, I guess.
DJ Tank Top.
Thomas?
DJ Tank.
I've been told I'm a
Tuba.
pretty good baker. So,
Sorry, what?
but I've been told I'm a pretty good baker.
Nice.
So there's my side hobby. Food
That-
making.
Those are the important skills, honestly.
People don't know, but Thomas is also a stand-up comedian.
It's true. His humor is much drier than his bakes, though.
Right.
Sorry. It's not even very funny. I'll be quiet now.
No, dude.
Do we have another
Oh.
question lined up? Or...
Okay, we can go. Jazz That Brass asks, how do you approach mastering on your tracks?
We practice a lot, and eventually we get good enough that we've mastered it, and we're good. It's great.
Yeah, this kind of goes hand in hand with like our process thing.
Sorry.
So I've been the one to master the Game Brass albums. I am not a professional master, but I can hit some values. I can make things loud enough. I can make sure we're not getting blips and peaks and not over compressed and stuff. So I just basically I pull all the final mixes into Reaper. I'll use a bunch of Isotope. I have a bunch of UAD plugins, and I go through it, and then eventually, sorry, this is a really funny moment for me.
Banana.
Danny Flam as a banana eating a banana.
It's really meta and also.
It's very good.
Oh, that's
yeah,
like
so-
what's his name? Pizza the Hut that ate himself to
Pizza
death,
Hut.
right?
I'm
And-
delicious. So yeah, I mean, I don't have any really good advice in terms of mastering, but when I've done my process and I've looked at everything in Reaper and made sure that everything kind of is how I want, I'll then pull it into a program that can do some metering. I especially like to do in Adobe Audition. There is I don't even know, a method of viewing all the stats, and you can see like what is the LUFS, LKFS value, what is the true peak, what is the RMS, all those things, and I can just look at them and say, okay, I'm not exceeding 0, my left and my right values are close, I'm at -12 LUFS, and as long as I'm in that ballpark, I'm usually pretty happy. The mixes are really where the hard work is done, and that's all with Thomas. So there's your mastering answer.
Can I add a quick thing?
Mm.
Second part of that question was basically, well, if I can find it, it worked really well to make a brass quintet sound. One of the things that we do is we standardize the way we record. So like we
Very
have
true.
a very similar mic setup that we all use, and we all use the same recording technique, and we all have, we don't go like you have to have your mid mic exactly 12 inches away from your thing, but it's basically, hey, we have our mic typically this far away from the bell. Can you approximate that? And for the side mic, it's like, hey, can you have it there? But yeah, no details of that, but we do standardize that a lot, and that helps a lot with mixing and mastering. But that is
Yeah, and we also make sure that like between and one of the things that helps is that the sound is consistent between the things that we do. It's pretty important. Like I keep the same mic setup for Game Brass, even though I've been like evolving. You know, I change up my mic setup for recording. If it's like I'll use a ribbon for all kinds of different recordings, but for Game Brass, I actually have a Game Brass setup with a certain way that I put the microphones. It could be bad, it could be good, it could be probably improved, but I'm not going to change it because that's the way we are working, you know.
Yeah. Jazz at Brass. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, Thomas, did you want to add anything about the mixing process? Because that's where all the heavy lifting is. Or do you?
No, you're
do
right.
You want to give away your secrets?
The secret to good music is that the source is good. And the lower down the chain, you have to improve it, the harder it gets. So, I mean, it definitely takes some practice to get people sounding like they're actually in the room together. But it's possible.
So we are aiming to premiere our latest video at around 10 o'clock. We're on track to hit that, I think.
Yep, that's right.
I'm realizing now that I haven't prepped a scene with the video in OBS, so maybe it'll work, maybe it won't.
Fingers crossed.
But I'm
sure it'll be
continue
fine.
with-
Everything's gonna be fine.
So wait, are we going to
Nvidia
stop?
Beach
Are we going
and
to
Sandy Beach.
premiere? Are we going to premiere like get off the live thing and
No.
then?
Oh no,
premiere?
no, we'll just
Show
make
it
it full
on the
screen
screen.
and no one
So
talks.
stay tuned.
We'll let everyone enjoy it.
This is
What am I
Insanity
going to
Beach,
do? I can't not talk for
featuring-
at least.
Miklachu.
Yeah,
and,
Michaela
Chubaku
Nagagal.
Waku.
She's a wonderful person.
Yes,
really is.
I love this track so much.
It's great. Came out so good. Who would have thought like a billion automatones would be like the ticket to a beautiful sound? Not necessarily us, but she does it like the world's foremost automaton soloist.
Yep.
I would say. I think there's just no competition. Just amazing. Also, a fantastic violinist.
Yeah, I always loved her old Twitter bio that said like world's best automatonist, world's most okayest violinist or something. It was just like
Yeah, world's okayest violinist.
That's really
Very
cute.
good.
I love it. And the raining automatones, that was a funny idea. Anyway, yeah, I'm not going to tell you who is in the the Crash Bandicoot suit.
Okay, Jazz at Brass also asks.
Felipe did play.
Oh yeah, Felipe.
Felipe did play the
bongos.
bongos. Yeah. Jazz at Brass also asks, what inspired you guys to use two horns for this ensemble? And I believe that's a question for just Thomas.
I think it was just that John Stacy was in the room, and we thought, well, there's two horns, so why not? I mean, I always have a hard time forcing myself to write for smaller groups if I'm given the option to make it bigger.
Pennsylvania.
Two horns is always a nice. Stop that. Two horns is always a nice sound to me. It's just doubling up on an extra tone that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. So, yeah, it was really though just because John Stacy was there already, and you know there's the 6 brass players, and I don't like leaving people out either.
I didn't know I was going to be on the album until he released the music for the first arrangement in early February, and I saw that there were 2 horn parts, and I'm like, is that me?
It was.
I didn't know before that, so it's like, oh yeah, I get to be a big thing.
There's
We
not
pride ourselves on.
or creative choice behind it, though. It's just that it was available, so why not?
I mean, I think it brings us closer to the Muñozal brass ideal, frankly. Like,
Yeah, I mean, we
like that
specialize in
larger brass
terrible
ensemble.
ideas, as you said. No.
I mean, they are a wonderful, terrible idea, frankly. If you've ever heard of the Muñozal brass, and I think I'm saying it right, MNOZIL, they are a brass
Septet?
septet.
Yeah.
I think mostly from like they're a bunch of musicians. I think from Germany and Austria. They met in like Vienna, I think.
Austria.
And they are just phenomenally good musicians, and they're also probably certifiable. They do just amazing performances, and they sing and they play and they memorize everything. There's blocking, there's sketches, there's a whole bunch of videos of their.
So I had a track list 1st
Mhm.
of like 16 pieces we wanted to do. Actually, I think I have to credit Robby for most of the heavy lifting there because I basically posted the tracks and said, "Hey, who should be on these?" And then he had a lot of suggestions, and then a couple of them I followed and didn't. It was his idea to get Grant Kirkhope to play on Treasure Trove, and that ultimately there were and it changed a little bit as it went. There were, I think, not many, maybe 2 or 3 tracks that had a different collaborator at first, but they had to drop out for whatever reason. But I think it was Robby just made a list and I approved it, I guess.
It came together. Like we are friends with a ton of people, through Magfest, through like Materia Collective, through a bunch of other like VGM communities, and so it was kind of like, who we really like to work with on these things and kind of make that happen. Yeah, and like you said, there were a few things didn't work out quite the way we planned it because guess what? We had fun, exciting world events happen, which meant that some people couldn't record, and some things just didn't happen. But in the end, I think it came out stupendously.
Yeah. Okay, let's do another fun. Everyone participate, but one phrase answers only. Frimps asks, "What's all your favorite game soundtracks?"
So one game soundtrack per person.
One
right?
game soundtrack per person.
Okay.
Score order, go.
The score for Outcast by Lenny Moore, 1999, recorded by the Moscow Symphony Orchestra.
Ooh. I wasn't expecting that. Well done. All right, Robby. Robby's holding his head. Robby is struggling, trying to contain himself.
I was trying to make a joke about holding really still, and you'd think I was frozen.
That's what I thought happened.
It almost worked. It's so hard. Gosh.
Just invent a 1986
Chrono Cross.
soundtrack by the famous Japanese Hiroshu.
Chrono Cross?
Chrono Cross
great.
question mark.
That's
All right. Chrono Cross question
That's
mark is a good soundtrack. All right, Danny, go.
Gitaru Man is a great one.
Good pick. That is a cut right there. I love it.
Did not see that coming.
I want to say that, like, I don't think these have to be your absolute favorite in a rank, but like the first one that you think people should know about. How about that?
Sure.
That way you don't obsess about, oh man, should it be Chrono Cross or Chrono Trigger? Or,
All right, John Stacey, go.
Whatever.
Tales of Legendia for the PS2.
Nice. Mine is the Pokemon trading card games number 2 soundtrack. I can't believe I didn't think of it earlier. Alex.
Mine would have to be the soundtrack for the original Nier.
Nice. And Thomas.
Probably. Oh no, I thought about an answer then changed my mind. Probably the Star Ocean series. I'm just gonna say the whole one.
Second
Might be my
story.
top one.
All right, well, I'll allow it. Cool. That was a good one. All right, other goofy one. Nuj K. Melbone has a question for Robby. Have you ever wanted to make a Shrek reference, but you're worried no one will get it?
Every day.
I don't actually know if that's a
So
meme or...
there have been I think I said that once in passing because someone on some stream said something, and it would have been funny to be like, "I mastered the stairs. I'm the stair master," or like blue flower, red thorns, or like I don't know, shine your shoes, wipe your face. Some Shrek reference, and it's stuck. I don't know. She said it a few times. I've made Shrek references. It's turned into everyone saying hi, Robby, all the time. I don't know.
Hi, Robby.
Okay, Shin asks, "Hey, the Game Brass, so have any of you taken an extended break from playing music? How long was it, and how did you get back into playing music again?" I think, Robby, you would be the most qualified person to answer this one.
Yeah, so I was at an art school in high school where I took trumpet, and that, like, when I say art school, it's like you have 3 hours of music class every day all year round as part of your like high school studies. I don't think this even exists anymore. It was a school in Ottawa called Canterbury. Wonderful school, love it. And so I was very into playing the trumpet. In grade 11, I changed to playing the French horn. I was very serious about it. And then at the end of school, I didn't pursue music. And it wasn't until I should say Daniel in this context, and I had the conversation about starting the Game Brass in the car on the way to the airport. So that was, I'm sorry to say, 12 years. I'm old now. It's fine. So I took 12 years off, and the only reason I started playing was because I had to start playing for the band. We agreed to release a song once a month initially, and yeah, I am the most qualified for giving up temporarily. It did really come back to me very quickly in terms of muscle memory. I could do a chromatic scale no problem right out of the gate. I didn't have any high range for a few days, and then that came back and it was fine. And I never was a high player in the first place. I am a solid like third seat trumpet player, but it's not so bad. I've heard from some of my older colleagues that, like, I know a guy who's, I want to say he's 55. He stopped playing bass guitar for maybe 20 years and he came back to it, and like reading sheet music was hard, and like his hands weren't quite how they used to be. Like that was harder, but I mean that's 20 years. If you've been
Yeah, but that's bass guitar. I mean,
right. If you've taken off, a year or even 10, it's easier to come back than you think. I just wouldn't expect to be, doing a competition at Carnegie Hall.
Yeah, I would say for my part, a lot of the reason why I keep active as a trombone player is being active through the Game Brass and being active through YouTube. So not having those things would mean that I am less inclined to practice instruments. But in terms of coming back, it's kind of similar to how it was with lifting for me. When COVID hit around March, like all the gyms closed, and then I wasn't able to lift anymore. But then I went home to Pennsylvania briefly, and one of my friends has lifting equipment in his basement, and we did it as like socially distant as we can. We made sure to wipe off all the equipment. We wore masks the entire time as we were doing it. So there were still adjustments that had to be made. But from that, I was really surprised that I was able to get back into it and be basically back to the level that I was at in a span of only a couple months. So thinking of like brass instruments in particular, your mouth is a muscle, and like we were saying earlier about how you're strengthening that muscle over time and you can potentially risk injuring that muscle. For the same reason, if you're not actively using that muscle, then it does atrophy. So that's why stuff like tone and stuff like the higher range takes a longer time to come back than does muscle memory and that kind of thing.
So I quit twice for 6 months each. The first time I had a botched throat surgery and I actually still have a scar from it. And I couldn't play. And because of anesthesia, I actually had really, really, really bad depression from it. And so I just didn't do anything. And that was before college. And then I went to college and things went okay again. The second time was when I got focal dystonia. And basically the thing that did it, the last time I played the horn, I was playing a musical. And it had gotten so bad that this musical was 3 hours of this. And this was literally just my life. So after the last run of that musical, I put the horn in the case and I'm like, nope, I'm done. I quit. And then I stopped playing, and then I graduated, and then it was like my last semester of undergrad, and then I quit for 6 months. And then after that, it was like Lauren started her master's in horn performance, and I'm like, I kind of miss playing. I wonder if I can still. And then I went and got help for the focal dystonia. But that was a frustrating time in my life.
Mm-hmm. And it is worth mentioning, since you mentioned Lauren, for those of you in the chat who are not familiar, John's wife is also a very accomplished French horn player. She's fantastic. We've played with her before. I don't think she's on Brassino.
She wasn't. She was going to be on Delfino, and then some life stuff happened to both of us, and she had to drop out. So
yeah, and like you guys,
but you can hear her.
Like, man, she's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you can hear her on the Chrono Cross album that we did with John Hayward,
yes.
Cross Symphonic,
and I believe she's in a couple of more of our videos as well.
She's in the
Trigger.
She's in the new Super Mario Bros. Deluxe. No, new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe castle theme.
Yes.
God, Nintendo. Why?
We did a video where, if you're familiar with like the Bowsette meme, where like Toadette would put on a crown and become like Princess Toad or whatever the transformation was.
Yeah, as it were.
And everybody was like, okay, well, what if Bowser wears that crown? So we did a video where we all put on that crown, and then we traded ourselves out for our friends who are women who play horns, and they played for that track instead. And that was a fun one. It was good to have some other people playing on our channel, which was not something we had done a lot until that point. So that was cool.
Mm-hmm.
We are nearing 10 o'clock, at which point I should play that video. How do we want to do this?
We had a request to like discuss this this wonderful Outrun thing. I don't know if we want to.
Yeah, let's.
I don't know if we want to touch on that real fast. Just the video stuff, because it's super good. You did a great job with that. Again, I'd love to touch on the the fun nonsense that happens that resulted in the actual like the game console screen, like the stand-up arcade machine screen stuff.
Yeah. Okay. Long story short, because I want to be really brief about this.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and find a shot of Felipe while I'm just clicking around. But
very good.
Okay, that's also, I love that shot. When we record our videos, we're doing like a lip sync. We're trying to play along to a recording that is perfect and already exists. And we'll record ourselves in front of green screens, and then we can try and act the part and try and like not try and get every note perfect, but try and look like we are performing, which is a very common thing when you do music videos. So this time, the recording we got for the vibraphones, Felipe Fournier, his video was video of the recording session. And so there was not a lot of care put into getting the right angle and getting the lighting just right and making sure the green screen was straight. So the video, and it also wasn't timed to the song. It was like, hey, let's do a clip of bar 4 to bar 8, and now let's do bar 16 to bar 32. So it was just a whole mess. We had, how many clips was it? 46? Different
Something
files?
like that, yeah.
43.
Thank you. And so we're trying to edit this video, and we work with what we can get, but it was really hard for that one. So I'm trying to get the key just right, and he just looked like really, the video quality was bad. I was like, what if I took him and put him on like an old CRT TV and like pixelated him? That would hide all the crappiness. It totally worked. And then I found there's this YouTube channel dedicated to recreate, like putting emulators inside of screens that look like what they were from. And so they had made Outrun cabinet images that were available for free online. So I put us onto Outrun. So I used that for Eric, who didn't have a green screen, and Felipe, who the shots were kind of not ideal for what I was working with. And that's the long story.
Yeah, so the actual very, very long story was Felipe So Felipe basically had COVID. He was almost a month. He barely got out of it. Maybe like a week before this recording, or a week and a half, he got out of bed. It was really touch and go. We weren't even sure we were going to have this. And then he got out, and then so I decided that what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the camera on while he's recording, because I don't know what kind of opportunity I'm going to have to bring him down. He doesn't have the recording equipment. We didn't have the whole thing to do it. So I just put the camera on, and then when we had time, when we needed to go ahead and try to record this, we just didn't have time to like do it again, and we had to do this way. And unfortunately, the best way would have been differently. The problem is the Felipe. People don't know, but Felipe is he just won a Grammy last year. He's like a Grammy award-winning producer. He does a lot of Latin music. He's from Costa Rica. He's an amazing, amazing musician. Crazy, amazing musician.
He's fantastic.
And yeah, and to try to find time for him to do something, it's not that easy, to lock him down, to come out, to do a video and all that. So this is what we worked with. Unfortunately, this is Anyway,
and it worked super well. In the end, it just worked.
Yep. And Felipe's a phenomenal player, and I'm glad that we were able to have him on.
Yeah. Felipe, if you're watching, hello, thank you. We love you. You're great. So I mean, a lot of the creativity in our videos is born out of limitation. Like, we have a problem that we can't work around, so we come up with a creative visual trick to hide it, or some kind of gimmick that will make it work, and then kind of make lemonade. Yeah.
Out of lemons.
Out of lemons.
Out of lemonade.
Okay, so we should premiere this video.
Let's do it.
We should.
I will give a
So-
little preamble. I will try to be brief.
Please amble away.
This is the credits sequence to the album. So it is a track that is not like any other track on the album. It was produced by Blind, that's our first time working with him, first time even talking to him. And then vocals by Helen Jane Planchet, who we have worked with before. And actually we got the Gang Remix Awards Best Vocal Remix of the Year
That's
in
right.
2018?
2019.
2019. And yeah, so
It was
Helen,
awarded in 2019.
Helen is a longtime collaborator of ours. We really enjoyed working with her. So she was the vocalist on this, and then Blind did all of the production, synthesizers, drum machines, all that stuff. And then we had our brass parts, again arranged by Thomas. Turning this into an anime ending sequence was a lot of fun. I don't want to ruin any surprises, but I will say that every person who was involved with Brassino Isles Tropical Cruise is in this video. I'm now going to press the button and hope that this works.
Okay, Robbie, should we all mute?
No.
Yes,
'cause
everybody
I'm gonna change
mute.
the scene in
No?
OBS, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Wonderful.
I will see you guys at the end. Yes, it's anime. Everyone watching, please enjoy Can You Feel the Sunshine from Sonic R, featuring Blind and Helen Jane Planchet.
Can you see the sun shining on me? It makes me feel so free, so alive. It makes me want to survive. And the sky, it makes me feel so high. The bad times pass me
There it is. Can You Feel the Sunshine? Featuring Blind, Helen Jane Planchet, and all of our family and friends from Brassino Isles Tropical Cruise, the season 3 anime ending, literally influenced by anime ending sequences. Unlike any other video we've done in the past. I hope you enjoyed it. Please, dudes in the chat. Dudes in the chat.
Yes, definitely. That is our season finale moment, and I'm seeing this come together. It's just so good. You did a fantastic job, Robbie. When you first described this, I was like, okay, I could see that maybe working, and then like it happens, and like Thomas went out and they and Indy and Helen filmed all this stuff on the driving along. Was it like Pacific Coast Highway, right? Or
that's the benefit to living in LA, right? So
just get that beautiful coast and compositing it all together into this ridiculous thing. It looks so good. You did great. I love the banner of people in the background. Freeze frames of memories.
So I'm going to bring this up really quick because I want to shout out a couple of cool shots. So this shot, it's important that you should know that this is a green screen shot. So the footage, yes, is literally footage that Thomas took driving on the Pacific Coast Highway. But we have, I guess I couldn't have really shown it on stream, but Helen is just sitting in a chair with her arm on like a green, is it like a cane, Thomas?
Yeah, I put green tape around it.
Yeah. So she got this cane under her hand in front of the green screen. And then I got a stock photo of a car and like just layered the footage, the back of the car, Helen, the front of the car, and then add some like shake effects and like reflections and stuff. And it's like pretty believable if I'm being really honest. I'm really happy about that.
Don't forget the fan. The fan.
Yeah,
You gotta
she had a fan in her hair.
Yeah, the big fan blowing in her face the whole time.
There's a fan. Yeah, I'm gonna
very
play
convincing.
a little clip here. You could wait. There's too much movement. You can see her hair like blowing in the wind. That's the fan. It's perfect. And then Thomas did all the like subtitles for the sing along. All of us are on our green screens as usual. And it was just fun to have a collage of like all of our album friends. You know, what better way to wrap up the album but revisit all the
I actually
collabs.
brought Mitch down to my studio to do that green screen, like, so because he doesn't want to have one at home. No, he doesn't.
Right.
Have one.
Yeah. So shout out to Mitch Friedman.
Yes.
Mitch Friedman, bassist for console,
the most bass player
who played on Passing Breeze with us. Oh, and this sequence here, I gotta say, was
the outtakes.
My favorite part of the video.
Robbie, what possessed you to put it on a TV screen in your living room?
It was Thomas's idea.
Okay. It's so dumb, but I love it.
It wasn't specifically.
Is that kind of like our ridiculous idea cop out? It's just Thomas did it.
Also. Yeah, no, it was. I wanted to just have it full screen. Thomas said like it should be on something. So then I found a stock photo of a TV and like corner pinned it to the right spot. This is a lot of fun, and it made me laugh while I was editing it. So it was just, yeah, this was one of the most fun videos to edit, even if it's a lot of work. All right, I think it's a good time to wrap it up. Thank you everyone from chat for joining us tonight. Thank you for watching. Thank you for your continued support of the Game Brass. Brassino Isles Tropical Cruise is available on Bandcamp. All of the tracks are up on YouTube with these handcrafted artisanal videos. We're also on iTunes, Deezer, I don't know what that is, Google Music.
No one does.
Does anybody know what Deezer is?
I think it's like Spotify in Europe.
It might be. That's interesting.
Yeah,
maybe
that's what research
But
shows.
we are on Spotify too.
Yeah, we're
we're
on Spotify.
also
and
yeah, definitely Spotify.
Please look forward to our next work. We are working towards releasing the Castles album, but it's just the recordings are so old that we're trying to just bring up the quality, and it's hard. After that, we're going to be returning to working on some more videos from Brassylvania, our October album from last year, and then we'll be right back into Christmas with Snowtopia stuff after that. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Does anyone else have anything they want to add before we go?
Just thank you all for being with us.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you all. And I said this a little bit when I was promoting this Q&A, but Brassylvania, or not Brassylvania, let's try again. Brassino Isles Tropical Cruise is such a special album to us, getting to work with so many friends throughout the video game music scene, and especially at a time when it's very difficult to get together in person and very difficult to get together physically. To be able to have an experience like this where so many people come together, lend their talents, share their talents, work together, it's truly inspiring, and it just like keeps me super motivated in the video game music sphere. So thank you all so much for being here. Thanks to all the people who are on the album. Thanks, Thomas, for arranging it. Thomas, would you like to have the last words?
I don't need the last words. Go buy the album if you like it. Join us again tomorrow for the real premiere of the video.
Yes.
Tell your friends. Spread the word. The last bit of this will be up tomorrow at our usual premiere time. So feel free to jump in then and make noise.
Yep.
Well,
we hope to see you all in the premiere chat tomorrow, 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you there. Thanks so much again for joining us. Good night, everybody. Take care. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Wave. Bye.
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 Bye.